Election fraud allegations, an infographic produced by the Epoch Times on December 4, 2020. In the fallout from the November 3rd election, numerous credible allegations of voting irregularities have arisen in the form of sworn affidavits and other evidence. The infographic below provides an overview of some of the information currently known. Universal mail-in ballots. This year, universal mail-in ballots were widely adopted by states for use in response to the CCP virus. Previously, a voter would have to request an absentee ballot and get a witness to verify their identity to be able to vote by mail. This year, 9 states and the District of Columbia mailed out ballots to everyone on their voter rolls, while others suspended the witness requirement. Easing of mail-in restrictions. Progressive groups in many states sued to ease security features for mail-in ballots such as signature and witness requirements, and in some cases to allow ballots to arrive after the election. Poll watchers obstructed. Poll watchers in states such as Pennsylvania and Michigan said they were not allowed to properly observe the ballot counting. In some instances, they were told to stand so far back that they required binoculars to observe what ballot counters were doing. Some poll watchers were forced to stand outside. Electronic voting systems. Voting machines which rely on outdated technology are vulnerable to hacking. 2 of the main companies that produce voting machines in the United States, Dominion and Election Systems and Software, rely on Chinese parts, making the machines especially vulnerable. Another company, Smartmatic, has questionable foreign ties, including to Venezuela. Potential foreign influence. The Chinese Communist Party, CCP, has a lot to gain from a Biden presidency, with whom its leader, Xi Jinping, has cultivated a close relationship over the years. Furthermore, the Biden family has stood to gain from business deals in China, including those with CCP members. The CCP, through its state-controlled media, has publicly put its support behind Biden. Media and big tech. Media organizations and big tech companies such as Facebook and Twitter were quick to call Joe Biden president-elect despite ongoing legal challenges, and have labeled anything to the contrary as false or misleading information, including tweets by President Donald Trump. 4 years of campaigns against Trump. The current allegations of voter fraud come after 4 years of efforts to oust Trump from office, first through the false Russia collusion narrative, then through impeachment. Ballots. 98% for Biden. In a sworn affidavit filed in Georgia, a poll watcher with 20 years experience says she was surprised to find batches of pristine ballots during the state's recount, and noted that markings for the candidates on these ballots were unusually uniform. The poll watcher estimated that of those ballots, approximately 98% constituted votes for Joe Biden. Perfect black bubbles. Several poll workers in Georgia said in sworn affidavits that during the recount they saw ballots with perfectly made bubble selections. They all had a perfect black bubble and all were Biden's elect, one observer stated. According to the observer, as workers went through the ballots, Biden's name was called over 500 times in a row. No signature verification. Poll workers in both Michigan and Georgia said that no effort was made to verify the signatures on the envelopes of mail-in ballots. In Detroit, a poll worker said in a sworn testimony that she was told not to ask for identification when voters arrived to vote in person. Tens of thousands of ballots arrived overnight. Tens of thousands of unsealed, unsecured ballots arrived in vehicles with out-of-state license plates in Michigan's Wayne County at 4:30 a.m. the morning after Election Day, according to a sworn affidavit by a poll worker. I specifically noticed that every ballot I observed was cast for Joe Biden, the poll worker said. Ballots counted multiple times. 7 witnesses in Michigan say in sworn affidavits that they saw the same ballots being run through tabulation machines multiple times. One Republican challenger saw a stack of 27 ballots with the ballot numbers covered with tape being run through a tabulator on 5 separate occasions. Backdating of ballots. A City of Detroit elections worker signed an affidavit saying she was instructed to backdate mail-in ballots and not to look for any deficiencies in the ballots. In Pennsylvania, an analysis of the voter database shows that more than 51,000 ballots were marked as returned just a day after they were sent out. An extraordinary feat given the U.S. Postal Service delivery times, while nearly 35,000 were returned on the same day they were mailed out. Another more than 23,000 had a return date that was earlier than the sent date. Votes counted after deadline. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court ruled on September 17 that election officials could accept all mail-in ballots, including absentee ballots, up to 3 days after the November 3rd election. However, on November 6, U.S. Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito ordered Pennsylvania election officials to segregate ballots that arrive after Election Day. Poll watchers obstructed. Republican poll watchers in Philadelphia, Detroit, and other major cities say they were obstructed from properly observing the handling and counting of ballots. Poll watchers say that they were told to stand back so far that they couldn't see what was happening, or that in some cases ballots were handled in rooms to which they had no access. Other poll watchers said they were denied access despite having proper credentials. According to Rudy Giuliani, lawyer to Trump, in Pennsylvania alone there were more than 682,000 mail-in ballots that were entered that were not observed by any single Republican. One Philadelphia poll worker said the vast majority of mail-in votes were processed 15 to 200 plus feet from us. The poll worker said it was impossible for any observer to see what the workers were doing with any type of specificity, and the observers were not able to challenge any decision or determination being made on the processing of these mail-in ballots. No or lax signature verification. A lawsuit filed in Georgia on November 30 states that decreased signature verification arose because counties did not screen mismatched and absentee signatures and ballots unsigned without the oath as required by the election code. Similar accusations of a lack of signature verification requirements have been made in states across the country. In Arizona, a judge ruled on November 30th that the state's Republican Party could inspect a sampling of mail-in ballot envelopes. Similar requests in Georgia have been rejected so far. Votes cast for people who had moved out of state. By comparing data to the National Change of Address database, analyst Matt Brainerd and his team identified hundreds of thousands of people in 6 contested states, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona and Nevada, who had moved out of state yet still had a vote cast in their name in that state. Georgia, for example, had 138,221 such people. P.O. boxes listed as home addresses. Brainerd's team identified, based on voter registration data, voters who registered using a post office box but attempted to disguise the box number as an apartment or suite number. Just in Georgia, his team found 1,000 such people. Unusually low ballot rejection rate. An affidavit by Benjamin Overholt, an expert in applied statistics and research methods at the University of Northern Colorado, notes that there was a 0.15% rejection rate in the 2020 general election compared to 0.28% rejection rate in the 2016 general election, 0.2% in the 2018 general, and 0.28% in the 2020 primary. Electronic voting systems. Easy to manipulate. Alex Haldeman, a professor of computer science at the University of Michigan, testified before the Senate Intelligence Committee in June 2017 about how easy it can be to manipulate computerized voting machines. Haldeman said that during his research, he and his team found they could reprogram the machine to invisibly cause any candidate to win. Venezuela ties. One of the voting machine vendors used in the United States, Smartmatic, was as of 2005 owned by Venezuelan investors, according to the Wall Street Journal. According to the New York Times, in 2006, the company was linked to the leftist Venezuelan government of President Hugo Chavez. It is unclear who owns Smartmatic at the moment. The company itself is mysterious about the ownership, other than stating it is privately owned. Built-in vulnerabilities. Voting machines produced by Dominion have built-in settings that allow for manual alterations. Options include giving different weights to votes belonging to different candidates. The system also allows for ballots to be scanned multiple times and for vote results to be removed. These functions make the system vulnerable to manipulation. In looking for these systems, we identified almost a dozen ways that you could inject or interdict to manipulate votes. Cybersecurity expert Colonel Phil Waldron testified before Arizona lawmakers on November 30. No employee oversight. According to sworn affidavit by cyber expert in Georgia, Dominion personnel were the only ones with knowledge of and access to the Dominion server. The expert said this was highly unusual in my experience and of grave concern from a security and conflict of interest perspective. He also said it was apparent Dominion employees have complete access to the computer system. Servers not hardened. Dell computers running the Dominion server appeared not to have been hardened, the process of securing a system by reducing its surface of vulnerability, according to a cyber expert who observed voting during the Georgia primaries. The expert said he found it unacceptable for the EMS server not to have been hardened prior to installation. Hacking risk. A cyber expert in Georgia said he observed that computers used to process votes in Georgia during the primaries appeared to have homes/small business company software packages installed on them. One of the first procedures of hardening is removal of all unwanted software and removal of those game icons and the associated games, the expert said. Outdated operating system. A cyber expert who observed the Georgia primaries said the Windows system of the main computer is in the rack connected to the Dominion voting system, has not been updated for 4 years and carries a wide range of well-known and publicly disclosed vulnerabilities. The expert noted that the server appeared to be an ad hoc operation with no formalized process. Broken certification process. The Federal Election Assistance Commission, EAC, is responsible for the certification of all voting machines used in the United States. The agency, however, is so small that in 2017 senators sent a letter to the EAC, raising concerns about the fact that the agency employs only one full-time staff member dedicated to overseeing the certification process. The agency relies on only 2 small companies to conduct actual testing, USB sticks plugged into machines. A poll observer from Pennsylvania, Delaware County, Greg Sandstrom, said he personally observed USB cards being uploaded to voting machines by the voting machine supervisor on multiple occasions. Sandstrom told Pennsylvania lawmakers during a hearing on November 25 that this person was not being observed and was not part of the process from what he could see. According to Sandstrom, the supervisor was walking in with baggies, and he observed him plugging the cards into machines at least 24 times. Connected to the internet, an information technology contractor for Dominion Voting Systems who worked at the TCF Center in Michigan and a former state senator who was a poll challenger both said in sworn affidavits that the voting machines used in the November 30 election were connected to the internet. Dominion has denied its machines are connected to the internet. If you like my content, please subscribe, watch, like, comment and share, both on my main and my backup channel. I cannot rely on YouTube to recommend my videos to other people, if you know what I mean.